I think we're live. Let me go ahead and add everyone.
We'll see in a moment. It's always an adventure to see if Dip
Yeah.
Dab can go live.
Yeah, it is really. Let's see. We are. Yes. All right. So, welcome to Eastern Marshlands Evening with Comrades once again. Tonight we have Königsmark again.
Hello.
Senna.
Hello.
And Theo.
I am big.
I don't know if Pac-Man will come back or not. Who knows? I have him on the thing there in case he does. I don't know. Tonight we've got some interesting shit. I guess we can start with Königsmark stuff with Bolivia.
Well, the thing that is...
Are we really live?
Yes.
Yes. The thing that happened in Bolivia since what could be termed like 3 or 4 infamous day, depending on what you count. And also not only
Hey,
that
Zordon's
infamous...
already got us the $5.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
That was quick.
Thank you, Zordon.
What is that? That? Yes.
That is a
Right.
mic drop emoji. In the chat. That's cute.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate the sentiment. Now we can buy... What can you buy for $5?
TK can buy more of a pizza.
We can combine it with other Zordon's contribution and buy the...
Pizzas.
Yes, I mean, TK is going to need them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about where TK actually is.
Yeah.
Yes.
TK has had an injury.
The poor man. We send our condolences to our friend.
Who is... You hurt his back, I think?
Yeah, it's back.
Alright.
We wish quick recovery to TK. And the thing in Bolivia is that it is kind of progressing the same but getting worse, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Because since Morales has been out, there has been like a lot of mobilization, a lot of like actions, like either like peaceful protests and like things like that, and the government has been moving hard against it, or at least trying. They have been trying like a balanced approach to not be overtly genocidal, which has resulted so far in on like quote unquote below 50 dead people. I'm not sure the exact number because there have been like speculations. And since yesterday or 2 days ago, one of the first dead from what is now called Cochabamba massacre had like a big funeral, which then became a protest, which then was dispersed by tear gas and such. There has been now the one of the funny thing that happened. One of the leaders behind the coup has already left the country and now lives in the United States. That tells you everything that you need to know. First of all, about like who's behind it all from the start, which is pretty obvious. Like the School of Americas have been the place where like a lot of the military people have been groomed, basically, and the Organization of American States have helped to orchestrate the climate before the coup, but also the faith that they are putting into the coup itself, because most of the times when you do things like that, you plan on to staying in the country, to stay in power.
Yeah.
Now this appears not be the case from what I have heard. I could be mistaken. This could have been just like a trip to like get notes, as they say. So yes, there have been like that protest, also various forms of like threats to step down by various social movements, unions, completely apolitical organizations that just dislike military rule, which, by the way, now have been the military has been trying to like control more and more of the state apparatus, and indirectly or directly. Also, there has been a blockade of the oil installation, and when the army tried to dislodge the blockaders, there have been, I believe, 2 dead people. The army has also now moved, trying to arrest people that are medics or doctors and that help the protesters with their wounded, which is also bad. And what else is there? Yeah, the provision, quote unquote provisional government has now issued like an ordinance or like a decree, because they don't have parliament, that basically absolves any military or police from any guilt on any violence perpetrated in these days, which is basically it's like a pardon but before the act. So that that says a lot about the direction of the thing. But there's also been like a more militant opposition coming out. Evo Morales has recently called onto the Pope to like basically calm his people down, but is how I interpret it. But it has been indirectly, basically, because the people that came to power following the coup are like Christian fascists, and Morales, I think, knows that like the Pope is his friend because they've met and they understood each other. So he's basically calling him to like call other people to basically tell them to like not really step down, but just like police themselves, basically.
Yeah.
Which could be really interesting if the Pope actually tries to like do something about this, because that could mean like the thing with the Pope is that he is isolated on top, and then he has this cadre of really ultra reactionary cardinals and officials around him, and then he has like the people in that support him are mostly like from the lower grounds, so he's kind of isolated on top. And there has been questioning if he tries to like change the direction of the church too much, if there will be like a coup and like a revival of the councilist movement, which would try to like assert its authority of the cardinals and the bishops above the Pope, which has been like a thing in late medieval ages, but then kind of dropped. So I don't think the Pope is in any position to like direct his the ultra Catholics in South America away from it. So yeah, Evo Morales has been overall calling for peace and end of violence, while the MRS, the party Morales, have basically declared their leader provisional president with over 50% of the actual Congress, which they have now convened like an alternative Congress to the one that's held in the official building, because the rump Congress of the coup regime is less than half. It's like a third of the original Congress, because Morales have just kept winning with his party all the time, so they don't even have enough. They don't even have enough like people in the Congress and in the Senate to legalize the coup.
Yes. Thank you for the update, Königsmark.
Yeah. Also, one interesting thing: the organization that has called itself Red Ponchos has called onto the government to step down, or they will start like a military campaign. Which I don't know how much of these people are out there, but it would be an interesting thing to note. I think that's like everything that I can really tell about the situation for now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
What outside of like the American response, what has been the other international responses?
Canada have basically like endorsed the coup in like a roundabout way. So they try to be pro-coup, but not so openly, because they follow American foreign policy. Mexico has continued its
like neutrality.
Standard anti-intervention policy. So they offered asylum to Morales and 20 other Moralista officials and condemned military action and called for peace and like negotiated settlement. The Brazilians, the difference is that most of the overtly right-wing governments even in South America stayed quiet because they don't want to anger their own ultra-nationalistic followers by endorsing an American interference into their policy, while the more like left-wing or openly anti-American governments have
Only bro in the chat. What about Russia, India, and China?
I believe Russia and China like condemned American intervention or stayed quiet. Basically, that's the thing. Not sure about India. I can look.
I mean, Modi is like this fucking vile imperialist, like religious nationalist. So I mean,
Italy? We talking about Italy?
woo!
India.
Fuck Italy, seriously. Italy is currently, I shit you not, trying to start a border war with my country because,
We talk about India, not Italy.
Remember when Mussolini's granddaughter got into a Twitter fight with Jim Carrey for an art piece?
Yes.
Oh, that was funny.
Our response was initially neutral after the Bolivian police continued to use tear gas against protesters. We have since condemned the coup.
You almost said condemn the poo, and I was...
What's the difference?
Yeah.
It's the big shit, let's be real. Sorry.
I too condemn poo.
Anti-excrement gang?
And by poo, I mean Xi Jinping.
Anti-excrement gang. Good segue.
Good segue, because I can talk about why I'm angry. Okay.
Oh,
so, Dip Dap Dunks on Dengist's half hour.
Yes.
So I've taken notes on the thing released by the New York Times on the Xinjiang paper, which is the 400-page document released by somebody in the party that is unnamed. I don't know if they're dead yet. All right.
By now,
Probably, or they're going to be soon. So the family of people who came back to Xinjiang and their family was missing were told that they were in schools, which they could not leave. And the behavior of these free family members will affect the detention length of detained individuals. Meaning that, let's say your dad gets arrested, right? And you don't. The way you act while he's arrested lengthens or shortens his sentence.
So it's literally just holding people hostage to control their family.
Yes.
So it's the original way concentration camps are used.
Mm-hmm. And to quote the document, family members, including you, must abide by the state's laws and rules and not believe or spread rumors. Only then can you add points to your family member, and after a period of assessment, they can leave the school if they meet course completion standards. And the narrative is that the word "for their own good" is used. The party has denied criticism, describing these as job training centers that are utilized to combat Islamic extremism. And they began in 2014 after Xi called for a struggle against terrorism in the region, and he stressed the words "no mercy." Party officials discussed following U.S. tactics that were implemented post 9/11. And they believe that attacks in Europe, specifically the UK, are a result of putting human rights over security measures.
A real mask-off moment for the truest communist nation in the world, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mask off.
Yeah.
Now,
surely communism is when you do genocide and
yes.
Yes.
One of the head party members in Xinjiang is a Han man named Chen Quanguo. and he oversaw the overhaul of the camps after his appointment in 2016. And to quote him, "Round up everyone who should be rounded up," and he distributed speeches by Xi Jinping to justify his actions. Ooh, donation? Or something? Hey, Zordon got $10 more!
Hey.
My God. Man, some point we gotta give you some money for this shit.
Yeah, or get you on the show or something, because...
Yeah. Hit us up.
Yeah.
Whatever you fucking want.
Mm-hmm.
You can hold us hostage now.
Mm-hmm.
You are owning us now.
Rager Bussy in the chat. Social score with concentration characteristics. Yep. Then there's local officials resisted Tuangua's expansion, believing it would harm ethnic relations and only heighten extremism in the region, as well as harm the local economy. Local officials were then purged from their positions. Islam is one of the 5 legal religions in China, that being Islam, Taoism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Taoism, I think. Yeah.
Local folk religion, I believe you already said.
Yeah, local folk religion.
You already said Taoism.
Yeah.
Okay. Also important about Christianity. Christianity that is not Catholic, because all Christians in China must basically renounce any foreign influence over their Christianity. So Catholicism is technically illegal in China.
Now that's interesting as well, because there's a group in a city called Kaifeng called Kaifeng Jews. They had a synagogue. It got fucking bulldozed 2 years ago, because Judaism is not a legal religion in China. But the thing is, Islam is one of the legal religions, and party officials have actively suppressed it. Another Zordon, $2 more.
Oh my God.
What are you doing?
And
Absolute mad lad.
Person with money, or at least some
Also,
amount of money.
Answer the question from your first super chat, Zordon. No, the impeachment interviews, because my position is don't care very.
That's my opinion on the impeachment shit too. Don't care, virgin. But party officials have actively suppressed Islam in Xinjiang, and there were talks of extending the suppression to other regions, especially where Hui Muslims live. Xinjiang is one of the most resource-rich regions in China. And even before the PRC in 1949, Xinjiang has faced problems with the Chinese governments. For example, in the 1700s, the Qing government, the Qing dynasty, genocided the local Zhongars. And
replacing them with the ones that are getting genocided now.
They replaced them with Uyghurs. Mao, before the establishment of the PRC, advocated for self-determination for these periphery regions. Do you know what they didn't really get? Self-determination. Mao said that the periphery regions should get self-determination. Meaning Xinjiang, Tibet. Guess what didn't get self-determination? Xinjiang, Tibet.
I really want Mao to just rise from the grave and exterminate Dengus like he did sparrows.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on. I have a meme.
Ooh.
Okay, hold on. I have a meme.
A friend of mine watched interviews from rural China with the people that live there, and basically they share your sentiments about exterminating the Dengists.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Which is one of the reasons why the first thing that has been done by the quote-unquote reformers have been to disarm the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see.
It's an EWC green text.
I'll post the link into the chat.
When the dingists are back at it again.
Now, the CCP has attempted suppression on the Uyghurs for decades now, and documents that tell officials how to deal with the families of detainees, the word 处置 is used for the title section. 处置 means to punish or to take care of. Really, not hiding it that well, are they?
See, I think when they were told they were supposed to do this covertly, someone left out the C.
Uh-huh.
Now it's overtly. That's a pun.
We get it, baby. I love you.
Do you really?
Yes, I do, even if you test my patience.
Sorry.
Uyghurs in China have a word to refer to a Uyghur who acts like their Han, basically. Chinese Uyghur. And it's similar to a phrase that was coined by a Nigerian sociologist, which is called acting white, and it refers to, like, African American people who act like they're white in America. And the party sends young Uyghurs around the country to kind of isolate them from Uyghur culture. You can see this sort of in, like, how Mormons send people around the world so they get isolated from their families and, like, anything else. Right? They rely on the religion, so now they rely on the state, and now they don't rely on Uyghur culture.
Ah, yes, Chinese Mormons.
Yep. Now, returning students from other parts of China have widespread social ties across the country. Quote, the moment they issue incorrect opinions on WeChat, Weibo, and other social media platforms, the impact is widespread and difficult to eradicate. Authorities were told to stress the fact that people were in detainment to cure them of religious extremism.
Which is to translate that, which is to believe in anything at this point.
Basically.
To not be a Neo-Confucian.
Yeah.
Which is very popular in China today. I have a whole fucking book, like a whole book of sources on, like, how Neo-Confucianism has been revived in the last 20 years.
It really came back.
Yeah.
Economic success.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad because it's like the most bad form of Confucianism, I would say.
It's the worst one. They're literally like Hegelians, but Confucians.
Oh,
Not the, and we're talking not the, kind of Hegelians that just
The right Hegelians.
yes,
The old Hegelians.
Yep.
the people who look at this neo right Hegelians are fucking brain geniuses.
Now, Xi visited Xinjiang once, and this is the only time he's visited, to my understanding. And it was in 2014, just after becoming, like, the highest order in the party, right? And it was one that was shadowed by violence by some separatists, and I'll quote Xi here in his commentary to party officials. Quote, the methods that our comrades have at hand are too primitive in reference to police equipment. He added that, quote, we must be as harsh as them, and we must show absolutely no mercy, and he believes that extremism in the Middle East has caused it in Xinjiang. He urged his party members to emulate the tactics of the U.S. after 9/11.
Ugh.
So, like, overt racism, neoconservatism, and let's hate crime those non-Han.
Yes.
Now...
Non-Han, basically.
Yeah, let's... Now... Can someone give me some examples of what might point to someone being an extremist in Islam? What are some signs, fellas?
Like, this is the thing. Like, if you actually look into science, the people that are most.
Sorry,
like,
examples of what? My Discord chat itself.
What things would someone do if they're an extremist?
they weren't religious before, but now they are religious. They are now delving into religion after like a life of not caring about it. That's like the most obvious sign if you actually look at actual like cases of the 9/11 attackers, for example.
Well, if you're asking me what I think is in this paper, it's probably having Muslim family members, isn't it?
Okay, it's long beards, not drinking or smoking,
Right.
studying Arabic, and praying outside a mosque.
Yeah, so like
I see.
So, like, the most
Didn't know-
benign bullshit. Benign bullshit.
Didn't know the Russians were Muslim extremists
Mm-hmm. So,
because they do all of those things.
yeah,
So if you have a long beard, if you don't drink or smoke, if you study Arabic and you pray outside a mosque, you're a fucking Wahhabi. You're an ISIS. This is like people in America who see a woman in a hijab and think she's an ISIS.
Yeah. Okay. Right. This is something that I like. Okay. Which Vienna and most Central European cities, to my knowledge, are a lot more like mixed through than most American cities are,
Mhm.
with the exception of like New York, San Francisco, the big ones. Like if you take a long extended walk, you're gonna see someone in a hijab or someone that is, wearing a turban. You see Sikhs, you see people who are, well, Hindus and,
Not Christian.
well, yeah, exactly.
Not Christian
or
or
people-
not secular.
Well, specifically not Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Orthodoxy is one of the largest religious minorities in Austria, like Serbs mostly and Greeks.
Now, So-
But this is very interesting, very interesting. So there is a subgroup of Christian Albanians, most of them, living in the north of Albania,
right.
but they still wear things not identical, but very similar to hijabs, because that's a cultural thing. So these people
Yeah.
are in many cases fucking Orthodox or even fucking Catholic,
like yeah,
but because
The culture.
well, because they wear a rag around their head, that means they're some kind of
Muslim.
that's.
I mean,
But the thing is-
English women wore them until like the early 1900s.
We wore them until the 1950s. So
my
right, you
great
go out
grand
into the fucking sticks, like way out into the fucking old farmland. You'll see some old lady wearing one.
yeah
I guarantee you.
my grandmother used to wear one, so it's not a Muslim thing.
Also,
Not to mention, there's still like modern day Christian sects where head coverings are
Normal.
worn at least on occasion.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the whole point of a wife wearing a veil on the wedding is for that purpose. It's an archaeology of that.
Yeah. In Central Europe for a long time, it was actually farmers specifically who wore it, which is actually for practical reasons. But it was sort of encouraged by the church because it, well, helped things. When farmers stand out in the sun for fucking 12 hours a day.
You don't get your fucking neck sunburnt.
Yeah, you don't want to you'll get heat stroke even in the winter if you don't wear a hat or that's why hats were like such a big thing until very recently.
Right.
Because we used to stand out in the sun for 12 hours plus.
Now the next part of this is the good person in this story, Wang Yongzhi. And he was a more lax party official. I say was. He urged party members and officials to read the Quran so as to better understand Uyghur culture and correctly understand what really was extremism and what was just being a Muslim. At first, he embraced detention centers and openly called for the destruction of terrorism, but he was privately very scared of the policies. And then he ordered that 7,000 people in detention centers be freed. And he was removed from office in 2017, having been reinvestigated for being against the party. And Wang on Weibo has been compared to Oskar Schindler.
Mm.
Yep.
He
But
act-
this is what I think is very crucial to understand, is that this isn't about not understanding Islam or not understanding Uyghur culture. This is about
This is
do not exist.
Yeah, this is an extermination campaign. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it this way. Because if you actually want to combat extremism, this is exactly the way to not do it.
Right.
Want
is
to
like the
combat
opposite way.
extremism? What you do is you do what Germany did. You set up or rather just German cities, because a lot of states in Germany are still fucking mental. But what the big German cities did, like Berlin and Frankfurt, Bremen, they set up mixed youth groups. They made sure that they had the most broad sort of mixture of people who are living, in cities with people, so that people who may come from, say, very religious, conservative Turkish family,
Mm-hmm.
be with people from, just with regular people from Berlin, usually with, Germans, with French people, so that they would gain
Yeah.
a sense of normalcy
Yeah.
and
Not feel othered.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
almost like the Chinese are actively like spurring on extremism by othering these people. It's almost like whenever America does this, the Dengists get mad, but when China does it, it's based.
See,
Hmm.
this is why I have such a huge problem with how most cities do city plan.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the 70s, when there was these huge influxes of migrant workers, right? Mostly from Turkey in the case of Europe.
Right.
Most from Mexico in the case of the US, for example.
Or Italy in the case of Germany specifically.
Yeah, but also Turkey in general.
Yeah.
Forget about that.
Very much Turkey in Europe.
Turkey, Italy, Romania in the latter part of the 80s.
Later in the 90s, Yugoslavia, and also
Yeah,
the Arab world in case of France specifically.
Yeah, Algeria especially. And what ended up happening, this is very bad in Paris. They basically live in their own little sections of the city, sectioned off, othered from the rest of society. They have those places, no other way to say this, those are slums. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Ethnic enclaves that are slums.
Exactly. And this is why I like what Vienna did. What Vienna did is, when we had these influxes of migrant workers, they realized immediately, all right, we gotta integrate these people so that they can function. So what they did was they made sure that when families moved there, the houses that they would be, like the social housing complexes, and which is where they would usually end up living after a few years,
Mm-hmm.
made sure that their neighbors would be common Austrian people who spoke German and everything. So there is no place in Vienna where, there's little neighborhoods
Mm-hmm.
where you
But
have
not
like
whole fucking districts.
yeah, there's some apartment complex that have a certain amount, like a large amount of, say, Serbian people in it, but there's still other people living in there, and it's perhaps we have a shopping district that has a section full of foreign sort of restaurants and shops, but the important thing is there are no like full-on ethnic enclaves. There's no like huge sections of the city where they all live, and we didn't have these huge problems of mass migrant poverty and like this huge spike in crime.
Mm-hmm.
The right is mad about that actually because they try to like insinuate that the 10th district is, for example, that's the largest, actually the second largest living district in Vienna, and it's the closest one to the central city. The 10th district is not the richest district, it's actually one of the quote unquote poorer, but it's still nice to be there. It's still a very safe place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't need to be worried if you go out on your own, even in the night. It's a very safe place.
Wish I knew that. Damn. I haven't had that
So
fucking experience.
no, like literally, there is barely any place. Like, don't go down a fucking alleyway, obviously, but like most
Yeah, but,
places
like-
are pretty safe to just wander at night.
Yeah, the problem is where
Even
I
alone.
live, like the fucking Birmingham? No.
Yeah.
You gotta be at least
But
careful.
because of that, people there are usually like on the lower end. They're all working class people, and a lot of them are migrants because they have shops in the area and they work in the industrial complex further to the south, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the far right keeps trying to claim that that's a slum. It's fucking not. I used to fucking work there. It's like, yeah, you'll have a lot of like housing blocks that are in need of some renovation, but what you have to understand is that a lot of them are very, very, very old, like mid 1800s.
Holy shit.
All of them are, most of them are fucking protected by fucking monument regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of paperwork involved with actually renovating them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, like the fucking newer ones, are fucking nice looking. And when I say run down, I'm not saying like condemned buildings like you see in the US. What we understand with run down is like you have a crack, a singular crack in the wall. But there's no trash anywhere because Vienna is
Holy shit.
literally the cleanest city in the world. Because a shit ton of the tax money is spent on
I can't
cleaning
go.
the streets every day.
I can't go 2 fucking streets in Birmingham without there being like a fucking 30-year abandoned building.
Oh yeah, that shit's all over the U.S. Like
Mhm.
that sort of thing is just normal. Everything's kind of run down. There's trash and things everywhere. It's just
Yeah.
it's all terrible.
Yeah. But the point that I'm trying to make is the right has been trying for decades now to claim that this is some kind of slum. No, it's not. It's a nice place. Like, you can go for a fucking walk there. You'll see interesting people. You'll see fucking street markets, because there are dedicated places
Mhm.
where you can set up street markets with fairly little paperwork involved. And yeah, a lot of the people doing that are ethnic, let's say. But still a fucking nice place.
If
And
yeah.
like people, right? It's like, oh, we have so much foreign crime. You want to know what that is? That's the fucking Hungarian mafia, the organized crime syndicates coming over from like the
Attila?
border. Yeah, coming over, stealing stealing cars and then selling them off to fucking Romanian car dealers.
This is Attila.
But that's not fucking migrants, you know?
That's the Schengen zone experience.
Like that's
Yeah.
the fucking mafia. That's not migrants.
Like just organized crime. Now the next thing, some more shit about Xinjiang is documents refer to those in detention centers as shoya, which means in custody, like specifically legal custody. Mind you, a lot of these people in custody are extrajudicially arrested, and they use the word like prisoner, detainee in the same vein as they use the word for training.
Yeah.
And that, let's see, so family members, let's see, so that people that are related to them can be donated rice, noodles, cooking oil, and sugar. Like that,
Oh,
like
generous.
it's so generous to be spending literally $3 on these people. I'm not kidding. They're spending $3 in donations.
Oh wow, how generous.
Mm-hmm.
They need to set up Patreon.
Also,
That took a moment there. I didn't realize what you said.
so, you know how China has like a fairly low unemployment rate?
Hmm.
That's because these people in entertainment are listed as employed.
And also, I bet that China came in alive with being unemployed.
I think in some parts of the country, yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh.
these places are heavily guarded and have large police presence. December 2017, the Qitai County in Changji Prefecture published a procurement bid for 240 special police unit uniforms for its, quote, Public Security Bureau Vocational Skills Educational Training Center security guards.
If you need that long to say concentration camp, you might as well go ahead.
Say
and
concentration
mask off.
camp.
Yeah.
In November 2017, Artuk City recruited 100 assistant police staff for its VTIC. Similarly, Zepu County Education and Training Bureau budget for 2019 states that it employs 212 teaching staff, but over twice as many, 435, security guards.
Alright,
Also,
my public school had 2 security guards.
Also, you have guards at schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's all I think.
If there was 1 or 2 people, it would at least be like, you know, reasonable.
Believable.
It'd be believable to me because I live in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be believable to
Yeah, it wouldn't be to you.
In the US, that's kind of normal.
It's very normal.
See,
Yeah.
I find it believable in, like, because, how do I put this? If we're comparing it to, say, juvenile hall, which is the comparison they're clearly trying to draw here, I would, find that believable. Also, for reference, dropping this in EWC green room text, if it'll let me. No, it shall not. Okay, hold on. Copy image address. When I'm saying less, like, in less pristine condition, I'm talking about shit like this. This is one of the maintained sections of the city. And even that's one.
That looks beautiful. Like,
I'll post the thing into the chat.
yeah,
the
like
next thing.
That's like a really beautiful place in the US. Like, maybe if somewhere's really nice, like a really well-maintained college campus, you'll get something that looks like that.
Yeah.
But you pretty much never see better.
Now, Tsula County, their budget says that they had 2,619 assistant police officers. 810 are assigned to that county's VTICs. While the Chinese term does not distinguish singular from plural, it can be assumed the county has more than one VTIC. Consequently, a stunning 31% of the county's entire assistant police force is tasked with guarding detainees. And that year, VTIC police force wages were expected to be 36.1 million RMB, nearly 3 times the county's entire spending on regular vocational education. For reference, 36.1 million or billion? It's million RMB to I'll do USD and euro. That's roughly 5.1 million. And for euros, that is 465. Let's see. Wait, no. Fuck. Yeah, 4.6 million. Versus the USD being 5.1 million. So a lot. Now, the next thing is on the fact that Xinjiang... Okay, first, I'll preface by Xinjiang is 1.5% of the entire Chinese population. Okay? In 2013, the year before Xi Jinping became the the leader of China, Xinjiang arrests accounted for 1.58% of all arrests in China. That makes sense, right? 1.5%, 1.5% of the arrests. Ahem. In 2014, the year that Xi assumed power, 3%. 2015, 4%. 2016, 3.3%. Now, are you ready for this number in 2017?
Hit me up.
21.32% of all arrests in China were in Xinjiang.
Bruh. They basically...
It makes you think.
Mask
They basically...
off.
They want to arrest basically everyone.
They want to arrest everyone, yes. The main region in Xinjiang that is targeted is southern Xinjiang, where it's 90% Uyghur.
At this point, they might just give up the concentration camp stuff and just
Mask off?
coil off the entire state, basically, and turn it into a big concentration camp.
A wall.
Yeah, just a wall around it.
I mean, they probably won't do that specifically because they're trying to colonize it.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Tibet and Xinjiang have been listed as internal colonies of China in certain places, and there's an academic paper that I haven't fully read called "The Palestinization of Xinjiang." It's literally an open air prison.
Yes.
Now, next thing, are we all familiar with how Russia did Russification in like Estonia and Finland? Like, well, what was like close to Finland, like in Karela and Murmansk.
Yeah.
How they just moved people in.
Yes.
Now that many people in Xinjiang are in prison, the Chinese government has ordered 1 million citizens to occupy Uyghur homes. Mobilization of more than 1 million Chinese civilians, most members are Han, to aid the military and police in their campaign by occupying the homes of the region's Uyghurs and Muslims and undertaking programs of indoctrination and surveillance while presenting themselves as older siblings of the men and women they might then decide to consign to the camps. There's a picture, let's see.
This is similar to the Aryanization program.
Yes.
If there was like a...
I wouldn't be surprised if it was an inspiration.
possibly. Or just having the same ideas and arriving at the same place.
There's this picture. It says it. I'll copy the image into the Discord and then I'll put it into the thing. So this is what they're talking about. That young child is a Uyghur and that man is Han. He's holding a book that says 我们的中国, our China. Fellas. He's literally indoctrinating his fucking child.
Oh.
Because he was put there by the government.
I guess that's one way to solve
There's
unemployment.
also been some arranged marriages between Uyghur women and Han men.
Love to bring back. Actually, hold on. That's a pre-Huan tradition.
Uh-huh.
My goodness.
Uh-huh.
We're going back to the fucking 1300s. In a bit, we'll be going back to...
This is literally what isn't this what the Nazis wanted to do in Poland?
Kinda.
Yeah, kinda.
Force...
It was more of a thing they wanted to do with the Baltics more than Poland.
Yeah.
Now the next thing is, a
Finland.
lot of European companies are opening up factories and shit in Xinjiang now.
Also, because I was talking earlier, this, for example, is a nice, unquote, nice part of this sort of...
I'll post that as well.
Yeah. And here, that's sort of what... that's a quote-unquote nice part of Vienna. I think the whole city's just nice in general.
God, that is fucking gorgeous.
I mean, you've seen a bit of Vienna when you were there.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I love it.
When I look out my professor's house and I look out her window, I see a fucking old hospital where all the windows are broken.
America is a hellscape.
It is.
No, but yeah, Prague is a beautiful city too.
Yeah, but I still prefer... Yeah, Czech cities are better because they have like green parts in mixed.
Oh, we have a shit ton of green parts. Hold on. This is just like...
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's why I don't like much the inner cities overall, even in like Prague and my city. I believe you, no need to search for pictures.
Birmingham, a lot of the green parts are toxic. By that, I mean there's lead poisoning in the fucking earth.
Oh, fun.
Because of steel processing plants.
Yeah, here, take a look at the fucking, district. Which is just a regular living district. Yeah,
the air in Birmingham used to be red.
Jesus Christ.
With iron. And limestone as well, the white stuff.
By the way, coming back to Xinjiang, do we have any information on like the structure of the camps? So is there like a big ones and then small ones, or are there like similar sized like all around?
It really depends. We know that like when they're being taught stuff, sometimes they're in cages. We know that they use torture tactics and like the tiger chair.
Yes.
And various other tactics that the Chinese government's been using on people in regular prisons for years now.
I'm talking like logistics of the camps. Are there like collection points and then off to bigger camps, or are there like all medium-sized camps?
I think that it's that. Now, one half of the European companies that are the largest, the 150 largest European companies, half of them now have presence in Xinjiang.
Really makes you think.
Like how the Volkswagen factory is like extremely close to them. It's extremely close to 3 of them. It's like it's within the fucking triangle of them.
Maybe connected there. The Volkswagen is currently not just under investigation because of the, the recent fucking scandals, but they are also under investigation from the BND, the Bundesnachrichtendienst, and the BKA, the Bundeskriminalamt, for suspicion of unethical work practices.
Ooh!
So that might have something to do with it.
Also, news from Bolivia: the vice president of the MRS party has been arrested by the government.
Oof.
Oh boy.
Now we have one more topic this week. I think that's all I can really say about Xinjiang.
Yeah.
So essentially, fuck China. Fuck the government.
And fuck anyone who does their apologetics.
Yeah.
Dong Xiaoping de Länder ist.
Yes.
Furthermore,
By the way,
we must eat Deng Xiaoping.
Speaking of eating China, we need. Is there news from Hong Kong?
Hong Kong. Let's check. Donald Trump is now standing with Xi, and he might try to veto the Hong Kong Human Rights Act.
Oh.
Wait, is Donald Trump a dungist?
Yes.
This
Hasn't
is
there
what
been
I
things
a-
wouldn't
are now.
even be shocked by it anymore.
Hasn't there been
like...
a post on Pearl that the recent economic downturn is like a false flag for Donald Trump to like invade the war state or something? So
You know,
Ooh.
we had a lot of. You see, we all this time we thought he was a Russian puppet, when in reality,
He's a Chinese one.
he's just a Chinese robot. You
Yeah.
see? Yeah. He's just...
I think he wants like to do that with China, like split the world in zones as to avoid conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Make a deal, as he says. That's the most
Part of the deal.
the art of the shit.
All right.
He is very good at being shit, so.
Yes, all his deals are shit, even if you look at it from like his perspective.
Yeah, but he can make them, so.
Yeah.
Holy
But
shit!
it's the-
Holy shit! I just remembered the word for Trump in Mandarin is "telong pu," which means te means secret agent, long means loud and clear, and pu means universal.
Hold on! Hold on a minute! Wait a minute!
That says a lot.
Hold on wait! Hold on a minute! She, are you trying to tell us something?
I think he is. Okay, but on to our third topic. I think is Iran.
Ah, yes.
Shit's going down, fellas.
Yes.
When isn't it? But yes, it is absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Iran joins the worldwide protests against life being a fuck.
So one, Iran
I like that.
has been without internet for days now. So the next thing is that the police are shooting people. They are killing people actively.
Yeah, using snipers from rooftops.
Yeah, and helicopters as well.
Helicopters as well. Wow. Not even
That's oofed.
not even Ukraine went that far.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
What's the reaction from like the military? Because in Bolivia, for example, there have been cases of soldiers defecting.
I think the
To
military is
protesters.
helping the government
Bruh.
because
but you have
because
to.
this is like what Iran is.
Yeah, the Iranian military, like, after the Iran-Iraq war was won, half the military was arrested
Yeah.
and just replaced
Purged.
with, yeah.
Well, another thing with it is that what is
I know
what
that-
is the Iranian military called?
I know that there are like sections which is like the guy, like the revolutionary guard that are like extremely loyal.
The Revolutionary Guard Corps. Yeah, they're like ideological
Yeah.
to the state.
Also, they have influence in other countries to Hezbollah.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reaction of neighboring nations such as Iraq, Afghanistan, and the likes?
Let's see.
Because
Well,
that's what interests me. Because usually, when anything happens in the Middle East, just like when anything happens in Europe, the neighbors' response is usually quite interesting.
Well, Iraq can't exactly respond right now.
Yeah, it has its own thing.
It has its own fucking bullshit.
well,
but-
it's people more than the government.
Support.
Yes, the people in Iraq and in Iran has exchanged like slogans and speeches that they are not against each other, but they should support each other against their respective governments.
Mm-hmm.
That this is not. They say like people in Iran have said that to the people of Iraq that this is not a callback to the revolution and the following war. This is like a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've read that somewhere, which is
Uh,
interesting. Not sure about Afghanistan though.
Then there's so the Iranian government has said the protests are over, but they're not over. They're still going on right now. The Iranian government is just posturing because none of the fucking Iranians have the internet to say no, it's not. They're trying to suppress things, basically.
Yeah. They tried to do the nothing happened stuff.
Yeah, they're actually trying to pull nothing happened. The internet's been down for 5 days.
What has been like Central Asian republics' reaction? Are they like they are obviously on the side of the government, but are they trying to leverage their position?
I'm not really sure. But I know that Iran and Israel might go to war. Oh,
See,
wait,
when two assholes
speaking
fight-
of Israel, Netanyahu got indicted
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my god.
for corruption
Yes.
charges.
Which is very surprising that he got it yesterday.
So we've got
Now-
some powerful shit going on.
He's already talking that this is like a coup and similar bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Netanyahu, that is. Which is amazing.
Yes.
Like, all he had to do is just not give people money for good coverage.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
But
Iran.
that's hard. Not doing corruption is hard.
So
Prisma.
this
I can't. I literally cannot stop giving money to these wealthy people. I'm sorry. How the fuck am I supposed to stop it?
Mm-hmm. So this is from the Middle East Eye, rather. The quote: "The rules have changed. Iran-Israel tensions hit high gear with Syria attack. With enhanced Iranian capabilities, more adventurous Israeli tactics, in the U.S. in retreat, strikes in Syria this week reflects a confrontation at a boil."
What's Russia's position on this? Because they are friends with... They try to be friends with everyone in the Middle East.
They haven't really said much yet.
Because the Russians have been supporting Iran when Iran is backed into a corner, but they also are friendly with Israel because of their like money and shit, and also Israel needs them for like their basically eugenics reasons, and also they support Assad, who is an enemy of Israel and Turkey, and Russia also wants to be friends with Turkey to undermine NATO, which if someone in Russia is thinking really hard right now.
Okay, so, quote, "The Israeli Air Force attack against Iranian and Syrian sites earlier this week in Syria was one of the largest strikes over the past 2 years. Violence between Israel and Iran in Syria escalates." And that it says that it has been unavoidable.
Yes.
What's happening is the fact that Israeli security officials have said that 16 targets of the Al-Quds force and affiliated Shia militias were hit early on Wednesday, including warehouses and missile sites near the Damascus International Airport, as well as sites in southern Syria and other parts of the country, end quote. There's also the stuff I know about some other Middle Eastern news is I believe that the Saudi government is in peace talks with the Houthis.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because
Also, at least one of those positions that you mentioned is supposed to be in SDF hands.
Yeah. Israel has been bombing in Syria basically everyone since the start of the war, because
Although
they
have been maintaining sort of cordial relations with the Kurds because the Kurds don't like the Arabs that much.
Yeah, because they don't like Assad, Israelis,
Yeah,
and the
and
Kurds
because-
also.
Really, because they wanted to destabilize Syria so they could get to keep the Golan Heights, but
Yeah. Which is extremely hilarious given like the ideology of the Kurds.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Because Ochoa actually like calls out Israel as like the one of the reasons why the Middle East is
So fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of Syria, though, heavy from the Syrian civil war map. Today, heavy clashes continue between Turkish-backed jihadists and SDF in Sharakrak.
Yeah, Sharak.
And it says that the SDF has captured Maruda and Wasita
Yeah,
Maksur.
there's been a counteroffensive against the FSA. Pretty heavy one, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see some other shit that's going on.
The SDF has like more free hand now with the the international opinion swing after the Turkey attack, and also with the verbal agreement with the Syrian Arab Army that they will not try to fuck each other up for the moment. So they want more territory, I guess.
Yesterday, Turkish-backed jihadists began shelling Tal Rifat. And
Really?
yes,
Where is that?
it's in the Syrian Arab Army and Afrin Liberation Forces that is connected to the green portion of the anti-government jihadists.
Oh, like near Idlib?
Near Aleppo and Zara.
Yeah.
Tal
There.
Rifat.
That's interesting because that's where the Russians have been having their little experiments.
And also the Syrian Arab Army is shelling Mushayrifa, al-Tina, and al-Khalikil. The Russian army is now attacking jihadists in al-Fatira. That's about everything that's happened today, besides 25 ISIS sleeper cell members were captured in multiple raids by the SDF counterterrorism units in Hakasa, Raqqa, and Deir al-Zor.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably the shittiest part about the fucking Turks doing what they did, is that the Kurds were actually stabilizing the region.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, northeastern Syria turned from like one of the worst places in Syria to be in to probably the only safe place.
Yeah, and also the Kurds are like the only forces.
Yeah. It's like
which kind of increased recently because a lot of Arabs don't like the Turks invading their country, so they are turning to the SFD for like.
Yeah. Like when the fucking Turks first tried to take Tal Rifat, like when they started moving in, defending that position was the Assyrian Volunteer Corps. Now, during the Armenian genocide, what did the Turks do to the Assyrians? So these people dug in and fought like rabid animals.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Turks were so overwhelmed by the amount of resistance they received that they almost got like pushed back over the border.
Yeah, that's another
About
thing. Like
400 men and women held back an entire
NATO army.
Had an entire combined Turkish FSA division to about.
The thing with the Turkish army is
people, 400 just routed an organized army of 7,000 with artillery support and air support.
This is kind of the Turkey entering the war is like when the war started, because when the war started, the Syrian Arab army was the largest tank army in the world because of their basically everyone just paid them for everything, every resource they got from Syria by giving them old tanks, and it got reduced by incredible amounts during like fuel. But the inexperience of the officer corps, because party officials. So the thing is now all the forces in Syria have been purged by the fact that they needed like capable people in charge, and the Turks have not been. The only purges that the Turks did was to purge the unideological or like Kemalists, which were the best.
Competent officers.
Yeah, they purged all the best people. So. Yeah. And also, not many people in the Turkish army, I bet, are happy about this. Like,
no, what happened, especially when they like first crossed, which is why they haven't advanced very much at all in the past few weeks. Like even in the skirmishes that they have had, is that to be fighting a capable fighting force, but the SDF are like a bunch of tank killers. They see an armored vehicle, they know exactly how to kill it. And someone, we don't know who, it's the Americans, but we don't know who gave them javelins, tow launchers, and AT-4s. And I'll tell you right now what it actually was. It was mad US Army Special Forces who were mad about being forced to leaving military equipment behind. The Kurds then found, quote unquote, found.
Yeah, classic America style.
No, this was like actually, I think someone actually
intentionally left them.
Yeah,
I think some of them actually.
That's what I mean. This is
actually got a disciplinary investigation because of that. Because they.
Sad.
But I don't think they actually. Because you can't prove it. They just said, "Oh yeah, it's broken. They're broken." A few days later, the SDF started killing leopards with javelins.
Yeah.
Like,
if EU wants its own like foreign policy independent of NATO, what they should look into is just shoveling heavy military equipment to Iraq into the SDF.
Turkey owned once again.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, because like there's like a lot of footage of like, you know, the Turkish offensive. And what's very interesting is that these people seem to not have trained, like, at all. Like, they have no formal training, which to me implies that all the heavy equipment seems to have been given to the FSA. Because this is very, very famous one, where a tracked IFV, a tracked version of the, what's it called, autocar, was rolled Tel Abyad and got hit with a Kurdish law, right? Now, and then a trained IFV force would have found some semblance of cover, deployed smoke, which the autocar has, and laid down suppressive fire as troops deploy. You want to know what the people in there actually did?
What?
Immediately dismounted the vehicle and ran back across the border, leaving the vehicle to be captured by the Kurds. Not just that, but they didn't even deploy smoke. They didn't even deploy smoke, which means that the machine gun positions just fucking killed them.
Man, Turks aren't very good at this military thing, are they?
Second largest army in NATO, everybody.
Yeah, and the thing with Turkish army is they have conscription.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a lot of people that are not happy about doing this in the army.
Yeah.
Which, that's like one thing that might actually spell the doom for
Turkey.
For Turkish regime is the fact that they are now, if not now, they will eventually, if they wanted to like keep this head like the pretense that they can do anything in Syria, they will eventually need to push conscripts into that theater, which is just the recipe for disaster.
Yeah, because what happens when you have a large group of angry young people with firearms at their disposal?
Are they like not to join
You
the
get
other
a fucking armed. You get a fucking armed insurrection. That's what you get.
You get them joining the other side.
Yes.
And now the PKK is like, we're gonna actually start a fucking civil war.
It's amazing. I love it a lot.
Again, we're gonna see the second partitioning of Turkey.
Basically just the first partitioning of Turkey, but done properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just, yeah.
Where there's no Turkey left. Is there any more news you want to talk about before we close off tonight?
What's happening in Chile?
Yeah, Chile. Let's see.
There's
Pork.
I'm sorry about my dog.
Apparently there's looting.
Whoa.
Amnesty International is now on the side of the protesters.
Wow.
Well, okay, there you really have to fuck up. But
Yeah. Let's see. Extending to crackdowns on LGBT people.
Bro.
For a moment. Yeah.
Okay. Quote from Al Jazeera: continuing social upheaval in Chile is taking a heavy toll on private and public property, including a shopping hall in Santiago, which was burnt down on Thursday night. End quote.
Oh my god.
Basically, Chile burning. And then from advocate.com, homophobic violence from the police force.
To be
That's
expected.
the least surprising line I've heard this.
Yeah. Quote from somebody saying that they stripped him and then beat him in front of other detainees, and they forced him to sign paperwork refusing to let him read them. And refused to allow him to alert family of his location. They forced him to admit that he was gay, specifically with the line, "Yes, I am a Effler."
Also, the Chilean police have now suspended the use of so-called rubber bullets that are actually a mix of rubber and iron after several deaths and a lot of wounded people. Mm-hmm. And now they are trying to blame it on the manufacturers. Mm-hmm. That they have been given shit that they don't know what it is, which I am calling bullshit on that one. It's the PR move.
A Chilean French musician, Ana Tijol, has said that it's not about 30 pesos, it's about 30 years of abuse and injustice. The Chilean Chamber of Construction estimates the reconstruction era time will be over $4 billion US. $4 billion US to fix this shit.
Yeah, which is related because another source I have read recently, a lot of people from the police have been investigating and fired for diverting over several billions to their basically pockets, stealing from the government.
For reference, you could buy 3 aircraft carriers with that money.
Jesus Christ. Christ! Keep going, Chile, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess we've been going for almost an hour and a half. I think we're good for tonight.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah.
The gender binary is a fuck. I am big death woman 2469.
Anything to promote? Maybe anyone?
Don't follow me on Twitter.
Don't follow me on Twitter. Worst mistake of my life. Anything from you, Senator?
Follow
Thea?
DipDab on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah,
Follow
follow
DipDab on
me
Twitter.
because I get mad at people on Twitter all the time. Because I yell at people.
It's less being mad, it's more righteous fury.
It's
Yeah.
righteous
I'm
anger.
for it.
See, you have the energy of wholesome anger just constantly radiating from you, I'll be honest.
I have chaotic energy, and that's all I need.
Yeah.
That's a powerful mandate right
I
there.
am fueled by 10 cups of coffee a day and the power of not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, that's might want to
Powerful energy.
might want to limit that power because that's a lot.
Might cause another Chernobyl.
So be it. If that's what happens, it happens.
What were you saying, Senna?
You can follow my Twitter. I mean, you shouldn't. There's nothing of value to be found there aside from my pets. Yeah, usually my cat, because she's the one who hangs out with me the most. But I have 2 cats and a dog, and you guys heard the dog barking. If you're a regular viewer, you've probably heard her cry, because she's a huge fucking baby. But yeah, they're all perfect and they're wonderful, and it's the only reason anyone should ever interact with me whatsoever.
You should follow her because she's a cutie.
No, you baby. I'm not cute. You're cute.
Yes.